Hello, BookTube, and I'm here to do a tag. I saw this on Michael K. Vaughan's channel. It's called the Top 20 Favorite Characters Book Tag. It was originally done on the Bookish Bryant's channel. I had missed it. But I'll leave links below for both the videos. It's basically just 20 favorite character book tags. And I don't have Michael K. Vaughan did them in order, like counting down to one. I haven't. I have just listed them in my like on a draft email, just as I thought of them. And one that I had always thought would have been character, and it's come up with the future history reading again because I always liked Susan Calvin. So Susan Calvin is definitely a favorite character, and we'll be reading more of her. And there is a trilogy of books. I've been holding this up a lot. I, Robot, a trilogy by Mickey Zucker Reichart that was written in 2011. Second one, 2013, I think, and then 2016. I think that's about right. Uh, and she's a robo-psychologist born in 1982. The books may change that a little bit. I believe they do. I haven't read those yet. But there's about 11, give or take, stories that Isaac Asimov wrote with her in, and they're all excellent. Some better than others, but they're good. And she works for a company called United States Robot and Mechanical Man. That is basically set in New York City, of course, because that's where Asimov grew up. And she is a robo psychologist, as I say. She's very good at her job, and for a while, she's the only one there that can do her job. And she gets called in a lot of times for, or at least in the stories, difficult cases with robots. So, and it's very good. She's very good as a character as well. I really like her. Another one is from Isaac Asimov as well as R. Daneel Olivaw, and he's a robot detective. And he first started in the Caves of Steel, um, and he gets partnered with a human, Elijah Bailey, um, and he's a really good character because he grows, and he's through. Well, I won't give away too much stuff, but he is very important to all the stories that happen after uh, Caves of Steel. Basically, everything after he's integral to the future history. And so there's two characters that are integral. Susan Calvin for doing certain things to help bring robots up to par, I guess, and getting them evolved. And Daneel Olivaw, it takes over from that, and he helps humans, but no spoilers. And then we got another robot as the next one. It's Jenkins. He's the robot sort of butler from the City stories. That was written by Clifford D. Simak, and they were written after the war. He's not in the first story, but he's in all the other stories, and he's a faithful servant to the Webster family. He serves them and their and generations until they sort of disappear, go into hibernation, the last ones, or go off to another world. Uh, and he looks after the inheritors of the earth. First dogs, and then basically he doesn't really look after them, but he's there by himself for that a long time until other robots. He sort of has happy-ish ending. Gets him out of the house, I guess you would say. But I really like his character. He's very human. He's which is very typical for Clifford Simak. He's more than human, even though he's a robot. And then we jump to Horace Rumpole, Rumple of the Bailey. I really love the stories, the short stories, and the TV show with Leo McKern. And it was created by John Mortimer, and they're fabulous stories, and I do have to go back to reread them sometime. I only have the first omnibus book, but I have the series on DVD. Something I've got to do is because I'm doing the book to film, but I also want to read the stories and then watch the episodes, because I've never sort of connected them in that way before, so it'll be a new experience. And he's great. He's irascible. He's a rascal basically as well. He doesn't go into. I should say he's a lawyer. If you don't know, he's a lawyer, a barrister. But he doesn't go into flashy things. He likes defending, and he doesn't want to become a Queen's Counsel, meaning that he's prosecuting what he calls the QC, which he calls queer customer. And he wears a Homburg hat, and there's usually cigar ash on his lapels, and egg yolk on his tie. And he's apt to be known to quote poetry at the oddest of times, and he's got a definite love of Wordsworth, and I love him. I love his character. He's just so great. And then we move to there's two here that are a bit of a cheat. Well, yes, because they were. Well, I'll explain the first one. First one is Alfred Bester from Babylon 5. A character created by J. Michael Straczynski. He's a telepath, and he's named after the author, Alfred Bester, who wrote about telepathy and mind manipulation, or whatever you want to call it. Like sort of in the 50s, 40s, 50s. And there are a few books. There's a trilogy that is written about what he's part of something called the Psi Corps in the Babylon 5 universe. And it starts, we first see him in 2258, and then it goes 2259 and so forth. So we see him throughout the series, but there's been a trilogy written of the books called the Psi Corps trilogy, which has sort of the birth of the Psi Corps and Bester as the thing, and until when he rises up to power, and then his fall. But he is an evil character, and he's played so well by Walter Koenig, that played Chekhov in the original Star Trek series. I think it's his best role. He just relishes the character, and he's so evil, and he wants power as well. So I really like that character. Then we go to Tarzan. This was one of, this one and the next one are definitely, I think they're the only two that are similar to Michael K. Vaughan's, but different. Like I say, I don't have them in order. I did miss one, but I'll go back to it in a second. Tarzan, created by Edgar Rice Burroughs in 1912, serial with Tarzan of the Apes, and about 24, I think, books. I enjoy them all. Some of them they get quite repetitive after a while, so you can't read them like bang, like which I did. I read them boom 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 boom. After a while, you get a little tired of them, but he's raised by apes in the jungles of Africa on the west coast of Africa. But he is Lord. He's a lord. He is his parentage, so he becomes Lord Greystoke. When they find him and find out who he is, but he couldn't really speak English when they find him. But he had taught himself to read because he was born there with his parents, and his parents died. But they had sort of because they were gonna settle or at least be there for a while. So they had some books and writing things to learn how to read for the baby because he was a baby. And when he finds it when he's a little older, he learns how to actually read by all this. It's a little fantastical. Like, I'm not sure how that could really work, but he learns how to read. And then he learns, like, he gets picked up by, I think, he found by some French explorers or hunters. He learns French. Like, he's very intelligent. He's very knowledgeable. He's very educated. He comes out to be. So he swings between when he goes back to England, and he inherits Greystoke, his family name. But he pines for the jungle as well, so he doesn't really fit in to either. Well, he doesn't fit into England, but now he no longer now fits in, with the apes. So he's a little in between, but he does need to, rip off his clothes and put a loincloth on and swing through the trees and eat raw meat. That's the one thing. He likes the taste of raw meat. And yeah, so it's Michael is saying there's no good films. I think that, well, the best one, and I think it's pretty good, is Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan with Michael Lambert. I think that was a really good adaptation. It's the only one, but I do enjoy watching the 30s, the 30s ones with Jerry Weissmuller and what is it, Margaret Sullivan, and this was before the code, so there's a lot of she's not wearing much at all. She's just wearing a little, not even a loincloth, but it just drapes over the front and drapes over the back, and yeah, there's lots to be seen of her. Let's put it that way. So let's go back to the one I missed. And this is a bit of a cheat because it's a duo, and it has to be a duo. It's Jeeves and Wooster. Bertie Jeeves and Bertie Wooster and Reginald Jeeves. Bertie Wooster is a ne'er-do-well, rich in his 20s, thick as a brick, basically, but rich, privileged, doesn't have to do anything. He's got money. The only thing that sort of worries him is wanting one of his school chum or friends or female friends to get him married or to marry him at times, and that's a big problem. Or he helps his friends try to find a to get to know a woman and marry her, so he does this. And his aunts. Aunt Agatha is the bane of his existence. And Jeeves is the butler. He's got an interest in philosophy and Spinoza specifically. And he helps. He's the brains, let's put it that way. And he's an older fella. Well, in the books he is. He's older, and he's wise. He's very intelligent, and he thinks it's a privilege to be a valet. And there's lots of, it's by P.G. Wood. If I didn't say that, it's created by P.G. Woodhouse. There are a number of novels and short stories. I read them or reread them. I haven't read them for many years now, but they are immensely entertaining. And even the TV show that was with Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry, that was extremely good as well. And that was he started that in around the 20s, I think, 1920s, I think, maybe actually in the late teens, maybe the first story, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, let's go back to the list now. Sherlock Holmes is the other one. That was, I think, number 2 for Michael K. Vaughan. But as I say, I have no ordering here. And he was created by Arthur Conan Doyle with as consulting detective, the world's first and only consulting detective. And there's 4 novels and I want to say 52 short stories, but I'm just all of a sudden popped in my head, but I'm not sure. But there's a number of short stories, and I read them and reread them over and over again. It's like I like the old Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce Sherlock Holmes. They're not very close to the stories at all. The best is for TV was in the 80s. I can't think of his name now. Anyway, it was in the 80s. It was done for ITV or BBC. It's the best rendition of on TV. On radio, there was a good one, Clive Merrison, and it started out with again, names are but they had 2 different like the TV show. They had 2 different Watsons. I can't think of the names. Anyway, sorry. If you're interested, you can easily look them up, and under radio for Clive Merrison and 1980s TV. No, I thought I had it for a second. Sorry. TV Sherlock Holmes. And then the next one, we're going back to P.G. Wodehouse, and it's the Empress of Blandings. The Empress wins, or at least has been entered in many a contest in the Shropshire farming community. And her owner thinks she's beautiful. She is a black Berkshire sow, and she is the pride of Blandings. Lord Emsworth. Lord M was it? Lord M was Emsworth. And there are a number of stories with her in. I just love it because he's potty over her, and there's a rival, another sort of farm, estate, and I forget the name of the pig there, and they're stealing the pig and stealing Empress and back and forth. It's typical P.G. Wodehouse, and it's a sort of second. It's either people love Jeeves and Wooster or Blandings, and part of Blandings is the Empress. And then we get another. This the way it was written by, he was a brother-in-law of Arthur Conan Doyle, E.W. Hornig, and he created Arthur J. Raffles. A.J. Raffles for short. He's a public school boy, and he's a master cracksman and jewel thief, and he can crack any safe, and he can get into almost anywhere and steal anything. And he does to pay for his lifestyle. And he's got a bit of a partner called Bunny, which was an old school chum, and they team up basically when Bunny is skint, he's broke, so Raffles helps him out. And I think there's like 24 25 short stories in one novel. There's not that many. I wish there were more. There has been some pastiches written, which I have not read, but they are fabulous. He plays cricket on England as well occasionally, or he plays in local county matches. And then we go shift gears here again to Charlie Brown, created by Schultz is the surname, and I can't think of his first name. But everybody knows Charlie Brown. Words of wisdom. Like you read the comics, and there's a lot of wisdom in there. I love Charlie Brown. I've always loved Charlie Brown. Enough said. Now we go to a book that or a character was on Michael's list. We go to the book Dracula, but I'm not choosing Dracula. I'm choosing Van Helsing, Abraham Van Helsing. And you notice he has the same name as Bram Stoker, Abraham Stoker. But Van Helsing is a vampire hunter, sort of. But he is a scholar, an academic. He knows about natural horror and unnatural horror. And he has spent a lifetime studying this. And I like his character. I wish there were more about him. They did do a movie called Van Helsing, which was interesting, but it was too Hollywood. It was too superhero for me. If they would have kept him Van Helsing of the book, then that would be fabulous. But I do like Van Helsing. Then we go to Lord Jim, Tuan Jim. Joseph Conrad's book, written in, it was published in 1900, I think it was, 1899 or 1900. And it's a story sort of of redemption. He does something that he regrets, and he sort of buries himself away in Southeast Asia on a trading post, and he will never, his word becomes his bond now. And I love the book. It's due for a reread, and definitely due for a book to fill eventually. And then we go back to science fiction with Enoch Wallace. He is a Civil War veteran, and he lives, I forget now. I'm not sure if if it is in Wisconsin, but anyway, he lives on a farm, and he gets contacted by aliens who want to set up a Waystation there, and that's the name of the book, Waystation, by Clifford D. Simak. And they set up the house. It looks the same from the outside, and when you walk in, it will look the same. But when he stays within its walls, he never ages. So he is like 100 and some years old by the time the story starts, and he has educated himself. And see, this what I like about the character is that he does this. He's just basically a country boy, a country folk, and he's asked to do something extraordinary. He's not well educated, but over 100 years he educates himself. And the way it works is it's a way station where it's like, people start, the aliens get beamed into hit the basement or the caverns below, and then they get beamed back out again. But there's a layover period that they can't go immediately. Yeah, it's a bit contrived, but fine. And then he gets to talk to aliens, and he learns, and he reads. I remember he reads Scientific American, he reads history, he reads science. So he educates himself, and that's what I sort of like. He makes himself better than he was, and he uses his time. And one thing is he always walks out with his old gun to the mailbox, and then walks back, and that's and he walks around a little bit. Most of the time he spends outside of the house, and every time he's outside of the house he starts aging again. But there are investigators, government investigators, because they know, and there's rumors of something weird about Enoch, and there's a mystery around him. Great character. Blimey, I'm going quite long with this. Oh well, Lewis Elliot is the next one, and he is main character in Strangers and Brothers by C.P. Lewis, an 11-volume series of books. It's like probably close to 4,500 pages long, I would say. In total, it is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. It goes from his sort of childhood years in the teens of the 20th century up to his death in, I think, the 60s or 70s. And he becomes a lawyer. He's not poor, but, well, he's impoverished. We should say that. And it goes through his life of how he wants to get into society. He wants to get be part of what's going on, and he does. He eventually, during the war, he works for the War Office, and then he becomes teaching at Cambridge. Yeah, it's Cambridge, not Oxford. It's about a decade since I've read it. Sorry, but I've read it 3 times already. Anyway, it's a fabulous story, and I like the way it goes through. Let's say it's a long haul, but it's well worth it. It also highlights sort of the first half and a bit, first 3/4, I should say, of the 20th century, at least British history, British society. One layer of British society, I should say. Absolutely fabulous. Okay, now we go to Roderick Spode. That's Lord Sidcup, and that's another creation by P.G. Wodehouse, and mostly in the Jeeves and Wooster stories. He's sort of a bane of, or an enemy of Bertie Wooster. He's a fascist, but he's got his own little group. P.G. Wodehouse based him on Mosley, the fascist, and instead of having brown shirts, Roderick Spode has black shorts. And it's just fabulous, and it's hilarious. Like, he's as dumb as a brick, and it's basically so close to some politicians today, like the one that is running England here, and shades of Trump as well. So he's very apt for today. And I think every generation will have somebody like that in the background. Okay, another one is this one's a bit of a cheat, more than Alfred Bester. It was in a book, though. It's the opposite way. It was in a book, but I like the way the characters were done on the movie series. Rather, it's Nick and Nora Charles from The Thin Man. By Dashiell Hammett, and he is a retired detective, and he likes to drink with his wife, but he gets caught up in a murder mystery. And that's what The Thin Man is, and that's the Thin Man case. And the book is really good. But I really like the film as well, and it's with William Powell and Myrna Loy, and it's a fabulous character. William Powell, Nick Charles is very debonair, and William Powell plays him to a T. And what is sort of better to come home to Myrna Loy every day, every night? Wow. But yeah, it's I really like his. I like the Nick and Nora Charles. So there's another 2, but it's more in my mind. I think of the films. There's about 6 films. I think they're still worth watching, but the first couple are the best. and then they sort of fall down a little bit after that. Then we go to Ebenezer Scrooge. We're getting close to the end here. Ebenezer Scrooge. He does not need any introduction from Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. And I just love his character and permeations of it on film. The best is, I think, Alistair Sim in Scrooge or The Christmas Carol, 1951. And it's just a fabulous story, fabulous character. I don't need to say much more. Then we go to someone who developed the character that actually was created in the mid-Victorian era, I think 1857, in Tom Brown's School Days by, surname is Hugh, I think. I can't remember his name. But it's Flashman. And George MacDonald Fraser, 11 or 12 books. And he's a rascal, like, coward, you name it. But it goes through all these things that he winds up in sort of the right place at the wrong time, I should say. And he becomes Sir Harry Paget Flashman. Just a fabulous character. And George MacDonald Fraser, he was a bully in Tom Brown's School's days, so he's just taken him and just made an adult, the same character, an adult, and putting him in adult situations everywhere, in the army and so forth. And then the last one that I have on the list, but like I say, not last in any bad way or good way, they're all great, is Morse. And that's created by Colin Dexter in a number of books, 10 or 12 or more books. And then the TV series with John Thaw that was late 80s and early 90s. And he's an Oxford police officer and inspector. And we find out there's been the prequel called Endeavour, and it's his early days, and it's just a great character because there's so much there of his character, because he had gone to university for divinity, basically, and but he dropped out. He's very well educated. He likes music. He likes opera. He reads. He is single, but there's a lot of baggage he has, a lot of history that we come into and we see little pieces of in the books. I like the way they did the character more so in the TV series. The books are good in retrospect, I should say. If I would have came to the books, I think, without seeing the TV series, I'm not sure if I would like the books as much. I've read them through twice, and the first time I didn't think too much of them. The second time, I thought a lot more about them. So I do want to read them through again because as I say, I saw more the second time, so it prompts me to read them through again. And this will be another thing where I'll be reading it and then watching the episode, because I want to do it that way and see if that changes anything. But anyway, the character is different. Like his sergeant is different, because Lewis in the book is older than Morse, but on the TV series he's younger, and Morse likes whiskey, like single malt and ale, but he also has a big collection of pornography, which you don't see in the TV series. It's mentioned a few times, I think, in the books. But yeah, so there's my 20. What's it called now? Fully 20 top characters book tag. I'll get it correct, and I'll put the links to Michael's channel and the video, and to the Bookish Bryant's video. And yeah, so I'm sorry I've taken so long doing this, but it was a fun tag. Um, and it made me think, if I did this tomorrow or later, I'm sure I've missed something that I would have put in, that maybe bumped somebody else. But I'm happy with this 20. Take care, Book 2.